Hi there, well, thanks for waiting. This is part 1 of What If Naruto Was Kamen Rider Faiz. So let's start. Chapter 1. Under the dark night sky, in the village of Konoha, one large crimson nine-tailed fox could be seen rampaging, destroying buildings and whatnot. At this very moment, a large toad with a sword appeared, with a blond man wearing white robes with the kanji for Yandame Hokage on the back. This was the Yandame Hokage, Namake's Minato. Behind him lay 2 cradles, carrying his 2 daughters. Right below the toad, there stood 4 figures. One was a red-headed woman aka Uzumaki Kushina, wife of the 4th Hokage, sitting in a wheelchair after giving birth to a set of triplets. The next was a white-haired man, Jiraiya of the Sannin, then an old man, Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Sandame Hokage. Finally was a blonde woman, Senju Tsunade. In the hands of Kushina was a baby, Uzumaki Namake's Naruto, the eldest of the 3 children of said redhead. Minato nodded at the people below as the toad leaped at the fox. The toad, Gamabunta said, "You sure, Minato?" The blonde nodded as the toad grabbed the fox, throwing her at the 4 people. As soon as the fox landed, Kushina sent a dozen chakra chains at the fox, binding the fox as she struggled to get free. Gamabunta then jumped and landed right beside the fox. Minato jumped down and held up his 2 daughters and placed them on 2 pedestals. He made a hand sign as he said, "Kagebunshin no Jutsu." 7 clones appeared as they spread out around the 2 babies. They drew seals on the ground as the seals connected. The original Minato focused onto the Kyubi as he said, "Hakfuin." The fox felt herself literally ripped into half as the Sharingan eyes in her own disappeared, its presence unknown to any of the people present. As the Kyubi disappeared, the villagers and shinobi alike looked at the Hokage tower as the 5 people stood there. Minato raised his daughters up and said, "Villagers of Konoha, I present to you our new Jinchuriki. My daughters Uzumaki Namake's Haruna and Uzumaki Namake's Hikari." Konoha loved Jinchuriki as much as they do bloodlines, unlike some other villages. So, everyone cheered in joy as the Kyubi was once kept back at bay. Time skip 6 years. One blonde boy with cerulean blue eyes was seen lying on his bed. This was Uzumaki Namake's Naruto, eldest and only son of the Yandame Hokage, Namake's Minato, and the Akashur, Uzumaki Kushina. He was also known as the brother to the heroes of Konoha, Uzumaki Namake's Hikari and Uzumaki Namake's Haruna. While most would seem happy to be the son of 2 of the strongest shinobi in the world and the brother to the heroes of Konoha, Naruto was not. When he was 3, life was happy for the young blonde. His family treated him with care and love. His sisters always thought of their brother before anything else. But when he turned 5, everything changed. When the 3 siblings turned 5, their father decided to start shinobi training for Naruto's sisters. When Naruto asked to be trained, Minato and Kushina replied that they needed the training more as they had the Kyubi in them. Being a good son and a loving brother, he was happy for his sisters and nodded. Over time, his family left him from many activities, even his godparents Jiraiya and Tsunade as well as his surrogate brother Hatake Kakashi ignored him. So the blonde only stayed alone, sometimes going over to his best friends, Uchiha Suki and Uchiha Yuki's home as well as Hyuga Hinata's home. The 4 got along well. Minato, Fugaku and Hayashi were on the same genin teams while their wives were on their own same teams as well. So the 4 knew each other. The 3 girls all had a crush on the blonde, so they would always stick by him. Unknown to them, Hikari and Haruna had a crush on their brother too. But the attention given to them interfered and they left him out of everything. Of course, when that started, they asked their parents about it, but the 2 shinobi said they would train him when he was older. So our poor Naruto was alone, so he decided to take matters into hands. He snuck into his family's library and copied down any jutsu he could. The most useful was the Kage Bunshin. He even read about his family Kekei Genkai from the Uzumaki clan, the right gear, and only he and his mother could only use it as his sisters had the Kyubi in them. Several times, Naruto had shown his parents he could do the tree walking exercise he learned from the scrolls. He only received scoldings from his parents and left sad. So a few months back, he unlocked his Kekei Genkai. His Kekei Genkai was considered extremely rare even in his clan. He had the Faiz gear, something that only appeared once in a lifetime. Most of the Uzumaki could only get the Kaiksa gear and 1 from 1,000 would get the Faiz gear. And that was only once in a lifetime. But from the times his parents berated him, plus his sisters stayed away from him, he told no one. From time to time, he would go into Training Ground 44, the Forest of Death, to train at night. He was now Genin level and knew all A rank to C rank jutsu, which of course he showed no one. Now, the young blonde had finished his night training and was heading back home. The way back to the Namecase compound went past the Hyuga and Uchiha compounds. And on that very night, an ambassador from Kumo came on a diplomacy mission and had kidnapped the Hyuga heiress, aka Hyuga Hinata, one of Naruto's best and only friends. Unfortunately for the Kumo Nin and Hinata respectively, Naruto saw the ninja and narrowed his eyes. He felt the pent-up rage from his family neglecting him and anger for this damn Kumo shinobi for even daring to kidnap one of only friends. So Naruto focused as photon lines appeared around his waist, forming a belt. He now had a phone in his right hand. He dialed 555 and pressed enter as the phone said, "Standing by." The Kumo ninja heard the voice and snapped his head to the direction of the voice only to see Naruto raise his hand up saying, "Henshin," before he slammed his phone into the slot of the belt. The phone then announced, "Complete." More photon lines came from his belt as they wrapped around Naruto's body, forming the armor of Faiz. The Kumo-ban asked, slightly frightened, "Who are you?" Naruto now turned into Faiz with his eyes and photon lines on the body glowing, replied, "Faiz, Kamen Rider Faiz. You tried to kidnap one of my only friends, you will pay." Naruto drew a hilt as a photon line came out, forming a blade. Naruto walked slowly towards the Kumo nun who was frozen in fear as Naruto released killing intent on par with the Kyubi. As Naruto reached the Kumo ninja, he took Hinata off the man's shoulders and put her behind him on the ground. He then turned and slashed at the Kumo ninja. A huge gash appeared as the man dropped to his knees, dead. As Naruto kneeled down to check on Hinata, relieved that she was still alive, Hayashi, Minato, Hitomi, Kushina and a group of shinobi arrived. Hayashi glared at Faiz and growled, "Who are you? Get away from my daughter!" Hayashi charged with a Juken strike but Naruto dodged it and jumped back. Looking one last time at Hinata before looking at Hayashi, Minato and Kushina who gasped at what she saw, Faiz said, "You are all naive." He then vanished in a burst of speed. Imagine scene where Kamen Rider Spectre tells Ghost he is too naive before running away in high speed. It was only then did the ninja all notice the dead Kumo Nin and saw that Hinata was safe. They all couldn't help but wonder who that mysterious guy was, all but Kushina. Now in the Hokage's office, Minato, Hayashi, Hitomi and Kushina were discussing who Faiz was. Minato said, "That was your clan's Kekei Genkai wasn't it, Kushi-chan?" The redhead nodded. Hayashi then asked, "But who?" "I mean Yuzu was wiped out, and the last man to use the Faiz gear is dead." Kushina then said, "There is someone I know." Hitomi asked, "Who is it?" Minato caught on to his wife's thoughts and said, "Naruto." Hayashi was slightly shocked, "Naruto? But he hasn't even started his shinobi training yet, how can he defeat a Genin, save a Jounin?" Kushina looked slightly regretful, he must have been training himself, Minato and we were too focused on the girls, we forgot about Naruto. I regret all I've done, last year, he showed me he mastered the tree walking exercise but we ignored him. Hinata who had woken up gasped, and glared at Kushina, "That's why he was always sad when we met. You neglected him. How could you?" Hitomi asked her daughter, "What do you mean, Hinata-chan?" Hinata looked at her mother and said, "Over the times when he came over to play, he wore a smile but in his eyes hid a lot of sadness and anger. It was like he was with friends and family but very lonely. Tsuki-chan and Yuki-chan know this as well. Naruto-kun once told us that you train Hikari-chan and Haruna-chan but totally ignore him." Hayashi and Hitomi were now looking at Minato and Kushina in shock. Then Hayashi said, "I'm ashamed of you, Minato. You could have trained them together and gave him something to work on while you taught the girls of the Kyubi, but no, you neglected him. But now, we need to summon Naruto to see if he is Faiz." Minato nodded. He then summoned Umbu and told them to bring his son to the office. With Naruto. Naruto had successfully got back to his room. He quickly showered and get into bed to avoid his parents from questioning him. But a moment later, an Umbu entered and said, "Naruto-san, your parents want to see you in the office." Naruto cursed inside but nodded as he changed and left with the Umbu. After arriving via Shunshin in the Hokage office, Naruto asked, "So what do you guys want?" "Hey Hinata-chan." He looked at Hinata when he said the last part as the girl smiled at him. Hayashi flared his chakra a bit as a Hyuga branch member came in. Hayashi looked at the man and said, "Ko, bring Hinata back to the compound." Ko nodded and led Hinata out. Minato asked, "Naruto, I want to ask, can you use your Kekkai Genkai?" "Do not lie, Hayashi here can detect lies and you know that." Naruto cursed inside and nodded. Kushina then said, "Can you show us, Naro-chan?" Naruto glared at his supposed mother but summoned the belt anyway. He dialed 555 on his phone. "Standing by." He then said before inserting the phone into his belt, "Henshin." He pushed the phone downwards as the phone announced, "Complete." He then donned the armor of Faiz. Hitomi gasped, "So it really was you. Thank you for saving Hinata, Naruto." Naruto nodded and said, "Hinata-chan is one of my best friends, I'd lay life for any of them." The four adults didn't know how to react to that but they were overall satisfied that the boy had such loyalty. Kushina then asked, "But why didn't you tell us?" Naruto merely looked at her with his yellow eyes. "From the last time I showed you something, why would I?" Minato said, "I see. I'm sorry for how we treated you, Naruto. I hope we can start over." Naruto laughed, but it was cold, the laughter of a killer, not supposed to be heard in a child. "That's why I say you are all naive. I learned to live in the forest of death for a month. I had my first kill during that month. You should know one Jounin got killed going into the forest just a few months ago, right? He mistook me for a spy of an enemy village and attacked me. I was lucky to have the Faiz gear and I got my first kill. You scolded me for mastering the tree walking at the age of 5, ignored me saying that you needed to train my sisters for the Kyubi. When you said that, I was happy for them, but a few times I saw you training them, there was nothing relevant to controlling the Kyubi that you taught them. That's when I started training myself. If there isn't anything else, I'll be in my room." Naruto then exploded into smoke. The adults were shocked. Here was a kid that could use the Kage Bunshin. Minato and Kushina were regretting the fact that they neglected their son but relieved he still loved his sisters. This was going to be hell for them. Chapter 2. Time skip 3 year. Now at the age of 9, Naruto, his sisters and the soon-to-be rookies entered the Ninja Academy. Over the years after the Kumo/Hyuga incident, Naruto got closer with Hinata, Suki and Yuki after they found out Naruto had unlocked his Kekkai Genkai and saved Hinata. But Naruto also became distant from his parents, godparents, and Kakashi. Naruto still cared for his sisters and the two girls would sometimes join their brother meeting the Hyuga and Uchiha heiresses. While many people ignored Hikari and Haruna's brother, that doesn't mean they ignored him. Though, as smart and as cool as the blonde rider was, he was still dense just like most of his alternate selves from alternate universes. Of course, this made most of the boys in class jealous of the blonde as the girls were the prettiest girls in the classes of the year. At the academy, Naruto always did barely enough to pass. With the written tests, he always did them correctly in patterns. For instance, the test has 10 questions. Naruto would do questions 1 to 5 correctly in Jounin-level answers but did the last 5 questions wrongly in idiotic answers. Sometimes, he would do the odd-numbered questions correctly or only the even-numbered questions correctly. Naruto did ace the practical parts though. Every target practice, he'd get a bullseye, no matter the choice of weapon, kunai, shuriken, sunban etc. Every spar, he'd win flawlessly, and no one came close at ending his killing spree. When Irika, who was assigned to be this class teacher for the next few years before they graduated at the age of 12 assuming they pass, brought this to Minato, the blonde Hokage was amused and confused at the same time. Flashback. Irika was now seen in the Hokage office. Minato asked, Irika, what's wrong? Irika said, well, it's about Naruto. Minato asked, he didn't do anything wrong, did he? Irika shook his head. Ted, no, he's fine. But his exam grades, he does the bare minimum to pass. His practical tests are the best in class, but his written ones always scored only half. And he does them in a pattern, and the ones he gets right are in Jonin level answers. Minato raised an eyebrow, could you let me see? Irika nodded as he took out a file with Naruto's grades and test papers. As Minato looked through them, some answers caught his attention as his eyes widened. The ones he got correct were high Jonin level, but the ones he got wrong were stupid. For example, one question wanted a Kekkei Genkai they knew, and they could answer more than one. Naruto answered 10, Sharingan, Byakugan, Rinnegan, Mokutun, Shikuten, Meitun, Right Gear, Hayatan, Shikatsumiyaku and Yotan. All with a detailed explanation. The next question was so simple, but Naruto wrote an extremely idiotic answer. The question wanted the clans that created Konoha. Naruto wrote the Yuki clan and the Fuma clan. All in all, the way Naruto did the tests were so confusing, Minato had to call Shikaku to solve this. As Shikaku came in, he looked through Naruto's grades and tests. After 5 minutes, Shikaku said, I think Naruto is hiding his skills so no one knows about them. But he also wanted to tell us something, which is what troubles me. Flashback end. What they didn't know was that Naruto was planning to leave on a training trip to all around the elemental nations. The ones he got wrong had the details of the places he was planning to go when he left at the end of the year, just when the holidays for the Ninja Academy would start and come back the year just before they graduated. Now, most would think why Naruto would leave a note to the girls and one note for the adults, telling them that he would be with the group of his current class, and his parents knew he was more than ready as he had killed before. But now, Naruto would stay there for the year. Now, the class was having a sparring session. One arrogant boy with a white puppy yelled, I challenge Naruto. Irika sighed and nodded as he told the 2 boys to enter the ring. Hinata, Haruna, Hikari, Suki and Yuki were hoping Naruto would win while all of the boys wanted Naruto to lose. As Irika swung his hand down and yelled, Uzumaki Namake's Naruto vs Inuzuka Kiba, Hajime. Kiba charged forward as he threw a fist, which was a good one by Academy standards, but sloppy for Naruto. The blonde spun around Kiba and effortlessly dodged the punch and gave a back fist as he turned. Kiba stumbled across the ring as Naruto rushed at the Inuzuka. Naruto gave a feint straight punch and gave an uppercut as Kiba went to block the feint punch. The dog boy was sent flying upwards as Naruto jumped up flipping Kiba so that his head faced the ground. They were at least 30 meters from the ground as Irika and the other students looked in awe. Naruto said, yield, or you'll die in 5 seconds. Then they went down as Kiba's head was heading for the ground. Pun intended. Just before they touched the ground, Kiba yelled, I yield. Kiba closed his eyes as the ground reached them. But the impact never came as Naruto pulled the boy up just a bit so that he wouldn't touch the ground. Naruto then released Kiba as he fell to the ground face first. Irika snapped out of his shock and said, Shousha, Uzumaki Namake's Naruto. Everyone was in shock, including the 5 girls with a crush on said blonde. Naruto proceeded to sit beside the girls as the other matches continued. At night, the family had dinner and as usual, Naruto hurriedly finished and washed his plates and utensils before heading to his room. Minato and Kushina wanted to mend the broken bridge with their son but had failed at almost every turn like how Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Kakashi had done. After they had finished their meal, Haruna and Hikari looked at each other and nodded. As they entered their brother/crush's room, the girls closed the door as Naruto discreetly activated the silencing seal placed by Minato in every room, which even the Hokage can't bypass without entering the room. Haruna opened her mouth to speak, Oniai-chan, are you still mad at us and Kasan and Tusan? Naruto sighed, Haruna-chan, I'm not mad at you or Hikari-chan. They ignored and neglected me when we were 5, and would continue had I not revealed I killed someone, saved Hinata-chan and had the Faiz gear. While I'm happy they focused on the both of you, I hated the fact they didn't make some time for me. Hikari then said, "So, you're still mad at Kakashi and Jiraiya Gigi and Tsunade Bashan?" Naruto nodded. Haruna then said, "But they want to make up for the times they ignored you, why don't you give them a chance?" Naruto sighed, "You still don't know how to read other people from their eyes, Hikari-chan, Haruna-chan. When they try to make up the times they ignored me, I can always see that all they want is my Faiz gear. Your mother can only use Kaiksa but at a weak level as she couldn't use it when Uzumaki Mito gave her the Kyubi which is now inside of the both of you." Haruna and Hikari didn't say anything for a few minutes. Then the blonde girl said, "Oniai-chan, can we sleep with you tonight?" Naruto replied hesitantly, Hikari and Haruna then did the one jutsu that would make men cave into any girl's requests, the puppy eyes no jutsu, which worked incredibly well as the two girls were already cute to begin with. Unable to withstand anymore, the defenses of the blonde boy crumbled to ashes as he could only nod. The two girls then happily went to their rooms to change and went back to their brother's room. As the girls entered their brother's room, they failed to notice Jiraiya, Tsunade, Minato and Kushina watching the girls. Minato sighed, "Looks like our daughter's crush for Naruto is increasing. As much as I don't mind that, I hoped their crush would stop, but it only grew stronger." Kushina bonked her husband in the head, "Minato-kun, how many times have I told you, they are free to do as they like. They are part Uzumaki and Namikaze, the two clans never minded to have relationships with siblings, so be more open-minded." Minato sighed and nodded. Both clans actually had nothing against having a relationship with their siblings, in fact, some even encouraged it. But if that actually happened with Naruto, he'd have to be put under the CRA due to the fact that his sisters would be in a relationship with him, plus Minato and Kushina are not planning on having more children. Minato then said, "Well, as long as they don't go beyond the line, I guess I'm fine with that." Kushina, satisfied with her husband's answer, nodded. Tsunade then said, "But let's not tell them that, we're not sure if they will have a relationship anyway." Jiraiya giggled perversely, "Well, I hope they do, then Naruto would get a harem and they'd be a goldmine." Kushina glared at the toad Sannin/self-proclaimed pervert, "Don't you dare use them for your books, I let it slide when you peeked on us during our honeymoon but I won't if you peek on my children." Minato blinked his eyes, "Wait, you mean sensei peeked on you, Kushi-chan?" Jiraiya was sweating, Kushina nodded as the Sannin paled. Minato said, "You peeked on Kushi-chan." "Dai sensei." Jiraiya then started running as Minato through Hirashin kunai at the Sannin as they ran around in circles and ending up with Jiraiya beat up on the floor. They then heard a deep voice announce, "Dota 2 announcer, holy shit." The 4 Kage-level shinobi looked around, Tsunade asked, "Where did that voice came from?" Anyway, back to the siblings. Since it was already quite late, the three siblings decided to crash. Now, Naruto slept in the middle with Haruna and Hikari at his sides, which was unknown to the boy. The blonde girl told her sister, Haruna-chan, "We should do this with Oniai-chan more often." The red-haired girl nodded. As Naruto breathed at a controlled pace, signifying he was asleep. The girls snuggled into their brother more as they fell asleep. To be continued.